Ladies and gentlemen, Primetime CP23 here with another vlog from my office, if you want to call it a vlog. Today I'm going to be talking about the new nerfs that are coming to Hearthstone, or balance changes. I didn't ever end up doing a video on the previous set of nerfs, the nerfs from when the Old Gods expansion came out, when they started the Year of the Kraken standard format. I never recorded anything for those nerfs. Now the nerfs before that, which was nerfing Warsong Commander, I did do a video on that on my previous channel. I'll have a link to that video in the description below here. So, without any further ado, let's get right into it, because there's quite a few to go over. Okay, the first nerf that we're going to talk about today is Yogg-Saron, Hope's End. One of the Old Gods. It's actually the only Old God card that... Let me backtrack. It's the only of the 4 legendary 10-drop Old God cards. Not referring to the set Whispers of the Old Gods. I mean the actual Old Gods themselves. Yogg-Saron is the only one getting nerfed right now. In the future, who knows? But for right now, Yogg-Saron, Hope's End, is the only... it's the only one of these that's getting nerfed. And if you just saw the picture that I put before this little clip, you may not realize what the nerf was, because it's still 10 mana, still has 7 attacks, still has 5 health, and it still does the same effect, which is cast a random spell for each spell you've cast this game. Now the difference that what they did to this card was they made it so that anything that silences or removes Yogg-Saron from the board during those spell effects, if anything happens to Yogg-Saron during the chain of spells, the chain stops. So if you've played 10 spells this game, and the third spell that you get for Yogg-Saron is Doom, or Twisting Nether, or any kind of mass AoE thing that kills Yogg-Saron, the effect chain stops. All the cards, any spell that would have come after that is now gone, and it's like it didn't happen. And same thing with something like, I think the card is called Mass Dispel. The Priest card, it silences all minions. Might be all enemy minions, I may be getting that wrong. Anyway, doesn't matter. So this was done, according to the patch notes, it was done to make Yogg-Saron less playable in tournament formats. Now, I never understood this, because it always seemed like, to me, any card with that much RNG involved isn't really a serious tournament card. Like, it may get played in, like, the little weekly open tournaments that that various Twitch accounts and stuff have, but as far as actual Blizzard sanctioned events, I don't know of any that pros would actually be bringing Yogg-Saron decks. Could be wrong, but that's the explanation that they gave. I'm kind of neutral about this. I don't have Yogg-Saron. I've never played Yogg-Saron. I'm not necessarily against it. It keeps those Yogg decks alive, but it also means that you're going to have to play things other than Yogg-Saron in the deck, just if you want a realistic chance of winning. because you're not going to be able to just get a chain of 20 spells after you play your Yogg-Saron and, hit your opponent with 3 Pyroblasts and kill them in that amount of time. It's just not going to work like that anymore, which I understand. That's fine. Like I said, I'm kind of neutral on this. Their explanation kind of makes sense on it, but whatevs. Okay, now let's quickly talk about the 2 Shaman cards that they are nerfing. They're nerfing both Rockbiter Weapon and Tuskar Totemic. At the start of this clip, I showed Rockbiter Weapon. I will show a clip for Tuskar Totemic right now. And we're back. So the Rockbiter Weapon nerf, okay, whatever. This is not going to stop people from using things like Doomhammer to, deal 10, 15 damage in one turn. So, I mean, it doesn't really seem like that big a problem to me, but whatever. All they did was up the mana cost from 1 to 2 mana. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. Tuskar Totemic, when I first saw this nerf, I was really frustrated. I really was unhappy with this nerf because I really enjoy playing Totem Shaman decks. I have my own personal version of the deck that I play that is not really optimized. It's not really the exact list that, professional players and streamers and such use. But I like it. I think it's a fun deck to play. When I first started looking at this nerf, it seemed kind of unbalanced. Not unbalanced. It seemed like they were trying to overcompensate because now the only totems you can get off of its effect are the 4 basic totems. The 1/1 totem, the +1 spell power, heal 1 damage at the end of each turn from each minion, or the taunt totem. Which, okay, that's fine. The reason that after looking at this a little more, I think I'm okay with this nerf is because it took this from being a 3 mana 3/3 or 3/2, excuse me, to being that when you play it, the battle cry, you get any totem, which means you could end up with a 3/2 and a 3/4 for that 3 mana cost. If you, got lucky and rolled Totem Golem. If you got even luckier in certain situations and you rolled a Flame Tongue Totem, I think it's what it's called. It's the 3 mana totem that gives adjacent minions +2 attack. That, I think, those 2 cards are why they nerfed Tuskar Totemic. Because too many people and too many pros were complaining about, people rolling high and essentially winning the game on turn 3. And that's a valid concern. I get that. So, at first, I thought that this nerf was, just huge. But, I mean, for a 3 mana minion, a 3/2 is a little behind curve. It's a little behind, but not super far behind. But you also get a hero power, essentially, because you get a random basic totem. So that means you're still getting an extra 2 mana of value out of this card, which means you're essentially getting a 3/2 minion for 1 mana. So when you think of it like that, that's still pretty good. It still combos with, I believe the card is Thing from Below. It's the starting 6 mana taunt minion that every time you play a totem, the cost goes down by 1, and it's a 5/5 with taunt. I mean, it's huge. And in the end of the game, with these with these totem decks, you can be playing a 5/5 with taunt for 1 or 2 mana. That's still insane, even after nerfing Tuskar Totemic. Tuskar still works just as well with that other card, and it's really fairly good value still. So I still think this is going to be one of the most played 3-drops for Shamans, because I just don't know what you would replace it with. There's nothing really in most Shaman decks that you would prefer to have than a Tuskar Totemic, even after this nerf. So, what are you going to do, right? Okay, as you just saw on screen, they have also decided to nerf Call of the Wild for Hunter, which summons all 3 animal companions. This is a pretty good nerf. It's fine. It balances it out in a way that now, if you played 3 animal companion cards, if you played the spell Animal Companion 3 times, and you didn't get any repeat minions, so you got 1 of each, it's literally the exact same as if you played Call of the Wild. Only, because there's a deck limit of 2 on Animal Companion, you can't play 3. So Call of the Wild is essentially right on curve now. Instead of being a little overpowered, you still get a 2/4 body, a 4/4 body with taunt, and a 4/2 body with charge. Because of Leok's ability, the 4/4 and the 4/2 also get +1 additional attack, along with anything on your board getting 1 additional attack. So even on turn 9, if you just drop Call of the Wild and you have an empty board and your opponent has an empty board, you can still do 5 damage to face. That's not bad for 9 mana because of the board you've just built up and that 5 damage you just did to face. Totally okay with Call of the Wild being nerfed. It's not a big deal. And I don't really think it'll affect the game that much, because it's still going to be one of the most played Hunter cards, because when you get to that mana level, Hunter doesn't really have many other options. So I mean, I still think it's going to be the finisher in most Hunter decks. And now we come to Abusive Sergeant. Abusive Sergeant is kind of like when they nerfed Knife Juggler. All they're doing, or when they nerfed Leper Gnome. It's Leper Gnome. All they're doing is lowering its attack by 1. Not a big deal. You didn't play Abusive Sergeant for the 2/1 body anyway. You played it for the give a minion +2 attack, because that's a big deal. It enables combo decks. It still enables, like, Leroy Jenkins combos to do 8 damage. Faceless Manipulator does 16. That's still a big, big difference. That's why you were playing this card in the first place. The reason that they gave for nerfing this card was them saying that aggro decks are already too strong and too common, and a lot of times what's happening is players are if they don't draw one drop and they still want to get ahead on board, they'll go ahead and just play an Abusive Sergeant on an empty board, and they have a 2-1, and it's not really that punishing. I mean, I get it. That's fine. I have no problem with the Abusive Sergeant nerf either. And here are the Warrior nerfs. I didn't even know Warrior needed nerfed, but okay, whatever. Yeah, so they've taken the card Charge and the Charred. The card Charge and the card Execute. And nerfing both of those. We'll talk about Execute first. I will show it on screen now. I don't really like them nerfing Execute to be Execute. It's a Pokemon now. Execute. I don't really like them touching this at all. I didn't think it was any real problem, but I mean, all they did was increase it by 1 mana. Execute is still going to be one of the best removal cards in the game. It's still going to see heavy use, and it's still basically a staple in Warrior cards, or in Warrior decks rather. So I mean, not a huge deal. As for the card Charge, basically what they're doing is trying to finish off killing Patron Warrior in combo Warrior decks. Sorry about that. Charge was the last combo piece that Warrior had after the nerfing of Warsong Commander. So now they've taken away the +2 attack and charge period that minions get after playing the card Charge for 3 mana. Now Charge is a 1 mana card, and you give a friendly minion Charge, and it cannot attack heroes. Basically, this is just them encouraging more control-y decks rather than encouraging combo decks, which I don't particularly like. I didn't really think this card needed to be touched on, but maybe they're planning something for in the future. Maybe there's some card I don't know about that's coming out that this card would make really unfair. So, I mean, it's okay. It could be worse. And with that, we've come to the end of the new Hearthstone nerfs. Overall, most of these nerfs don't really strike me as a problem because most of these cards didn't strike me as a problem. I'm not really sure the reasoning behind some of these nerfs. Yeah, I've read the whole news update thing that Blizzard put out on Battle.net. But even with their reasoning, I don't see a lot of these cards as really being a problem. But I'm not a game designer, I'm not a card designer, so my opinion isn't really that important, I guess. But I did want to go ahead and make this video, share my opinions on all of this with you. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I will also have links to both of my Twitter pages and my Twitch page at Primetime CP23. So with that, I think we're going to call it a night. So until next time, this is Primetime CP23, and I'm out.